So I'm going to look at a couple things in this live stream. First is making these colorful little squares go. They're actually already going, but this is my little TypeScript implementation of Conway's Game of Life. Game of Life is sort of one of the projects that I reach for when I'm trying to learn a language or like test out some sort of framework or library feature. So I've been digging in deeper to TypeScript and thought this was a good chance to use it. As part of that, I've been dealing with TSDX, which is pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot of places where if you just want to start messing around with TypeScript, you can go. Code Sandbox. There's like a TypeScript playground on the TypeScript website. But I thought this was sort of a nice place to go. TSDX. Just pull up real quick, run an npx command. Got a local development server running with full TypeScript support. It's got a lot of really nice defaults. So it says 0 config. That's because it gives you a bunch of config by default, but you can certainly go in and so let me just jump over here. You can certainly go in and configure it. There's the config. So this stuff just kind of comes out of the box with TSDX, but if there's certain things that you want to do differently, you can come in here and tweak these things. So that's the first part of what I'm going to be looking at, is just maybe adding some different controls to this Game of Life program that I've been working on. And then after that, I've been doing a little bit of a project where I have an API serving some Markdown. I've written a bunch of Markdown files for Today I Learned posts, and I have an API now serving that Markdown, just like a REST type endpoint. And I'm going to take that and actually I've already taken it, and I'm using Mdx Bundler from Kenzie Dodds, and I'm rendering that to the page. So I'm just going to kind of walk through that workflow and maybe see if there's anything to work on there. So that'll be kind of the second half of this. But for now, let's see. So I've got like some controls here. So I can restart the thing and it's running. I can pause it and it stops running. I can restart it, and since it's paused, it is not running. I guess one of the things I've wanted to do here is mess with the size of it. It's sort of hard-coded to be, I believe it's 20 by 20. So it might be nice if you can control the size of it with some controls here. So maybe that's a good place to start. So, pop back in here. And I think it might be nice if I bring the size of this up a little bit. Let's see if I can make that work for me. If you're curious, I'm using Kitty, which is a terminal emulator, and then I've got tmux running as a way to manage all these different panes here. I've got a couple different panes. I've got several different projects set up in different directories or different tmux sessions, and then over here my editor is Vim. I guess in this case it's NeoVim. Been using that lately, and it's been really nice to work in. But anyway, let's take a look at the code. So if I open this up, so TSDX lets me sort of write a TypeScript package, and then it's in this example directory where I actually then use that TypeScript package and render it into some sort of like React context. So I'm going to jump there first, and let's see, index.tsx. There, that's rendering game. So yeah, let's check out game. Oh, where is game? Oh, I see. I was thinking I was looking for a file called game, but I think it's well, let's look for it this way. Export game source. Okay. There we go. Why is that in source? I don't know. That's interesting. Well, anyway, so this is where the game is being rendered. This is sort of ultimately what renders what we're seeing here. And yeah, I've got some logic here for doing a bunch of HSL stuff to get all those fun colors. So it's kind of a fun bit of the code. You can see I've got the different like button states here. So whether it's running or not determines whether the button says pause or start, and when you click on it, determines whether it pauses or starts the board. So we have this board object coming in to the component, and if I hit Shift K, we'll see that this is a board.board type. And if I jump around, yeah, board controls, let's see. I was looking for board, so here in the game, so this is just coming in as part of this hook here, this board controls hook. And that's what this is. And so this hook, what does it do? It takes in, an initial board generator. So this is the thing that could create a board. And in this case, we pass in this 20 by 20. Generate the board for 20 by 20. Okay. And then, so the reason I was headed to this sort of line of code is because I wanted to figure out where I could affect the size of the board, because that's kind of the control I want to add in here. The one thing I'm remembering though that'll be problematic here is these numbers 20 and 20 are sort of hard-coded in the color computation down here, so I'll have to, I guess, think about refactoring that as we adjust the size of the board. But yeah, before we get to that, I'll just see if we can change it. Oh, somebody's asking if my fan is close to my mic. It's not close to my mic, but these fans are going at full blast, so that's a bummer. I wonder if I can tweak the. I can tweak this. Sorry, I'm probably a little loud here now. I wonder if I can tweak the gain and crank that way down, and I think that my voice is still coming through, but maybe the fans aren't coming through as loudly. I'm not sure, sorry about that. Let me know if that helps at all. Yeah, please don't fry your MacBook. So far it is not too hot. I mean, maybe hot enough to like cook an egg, but not any hotter than that. I love it though. Thank you for the concern. It's definitely in the back of my mind to get a streaming rig at some point so that I don't have to make my MacBook do all the work. I can just pass it through to some dedicated machine, but just working with the hardware I've got right now. Yeah, these stupid fans. Well, hopefully that's a little better now. Okay, so let's see. We send this in as 20 by 20, but maybe we can just make this a piece of state, and we'll just stick with a square for now. I think we could do like a rectangular grid eventually, but square is easier. So I'll say, I don't know, board length, set board length. We're just using a reaxuse state here. And then we can tell it it's going to be a number always, and we'll just default it to 20. Cool. And then I'll just put board length down here. And this is unhappy because I've declared this but not used anywhere, but beyond that, I think, yeah, it doesn't look like there's any other errors in the file, so let's check this out. Cool, that seems to be working. So then, board length, maybe we can incorporate that down in here while I'm thinking about it. I don't know if these numbers are going to get funky if we have sort of a decimal value coming out in the HSL, but yeah, maybe we need to call like a ceiling function on that. Let's see. Oh, that's going to be way small. Okay, so a 12.4 math.ceil. That's just always going to round up. Okay. What are my other options there? Round. That goes down. That goes up. Yeah, maybe we'll use math.round. And then what did we call it? Board length. Cool. And I'll do the same thing down here. And then also here. Prettier snaps that into place, so I think, yeah, let's give this a, yeah, it seems to just be working. Cool. That's something I've really been loving about TypeScript is, yeah, you just kind of have a little extra layer of confidence. I mean, I guess there hasn't been too much here that's like going to be flagged by the compiler, but just like, yeah, even just knowing that like you're not sneaking in a typo somewhere. And I guess a big part of that for me being in this Vim context is the COC plugin for NeoVim. This combined with the TypeScript language server that you can include in part of it, it gives me, you know, the autocomplete and the type suggestions, the type information, all of that, and so that's been really slick. Yeah, here's installing that, the TS server. So, you know, let's see, where was I? there's a comment in the chat. Yeah, doing some sort of input range for the, yeah, I think Oh Knows is saying that if I put a input range in for the what gets captured in the audio, then I can kind of filter out the fan. Maybe that's something I can do in OBS. I don't know, I'll have to experiment with that. Cool, so let's see. Yeah, this is all just kind of coming together. So now I can add a control for adjusting the board length. So yeah, we've got a button, input. I hate the way the number input looks, but we're going to use it anyway. And we're going to give it a value of board length. What is it, on change? I think in this case, because it can go up or down. And so we'll just grab the event and we'll say set board length to be e.target.value. What doesn't it like there? Argument type string is not assignable. Oh, that's fair. So we can say parse int. There, and that makes TypeScript happy. So does that add in my... Oh, it's not going to refresh for me. It's not going to render it. Do I need value? Let's look it up and see. Yeah, MDN. Label ID. Seems like I'm doing the right thing. Maybe it wants that to be a string and not a value. That could be part of the problem. It's not rendering anything on the page though. Button, div. Yeah, it's not even ending up there. Do we have... Oh, you know, I've had some issues with this thing looking like it's built, but maybe there's something wrong with, there's like a compilation error, and so then it doesn't actually rebuild what's there. No? Still not. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any TypeScript errors in here. Let's see. Maybe I need to... README? No. What's a package JSON say? We've got start and build. Yeah, parcel's been a little finicky for me. I'm not sure what's up with that, but let's try a yarn build and see if it tells us anything. Yeah, oh no's is telling me that this should be a string, so yeah, let's no, how do I do that? Is that not what I did? Num2 string. Oh, I see. I just can't call it on a actual number. Great. Okay, so I can do that. Right, I don't have to convert it back to a string if it's a number. But maybe... Yeah, I guess I'm trying to reconcile the fact that I'm treating this thing always as a number. But down here doesn't like that. So... Oh, but this is what I'm setting the board length to. So now that was good. So I'm going to leave that there. Right, this will always be a string, but since I'm setting the board length, I want to convert it to a number to satisfy that type constraint. And yeah, but I guess that brings me back to why in the world is this not showing up here? Also, oh no's, I appreciate you kind of going back and forth with me here, and I apologize if I'm missing some of what you're shooting at me, because I'm still very much getting used to keeping an eye on the chat here. So, but yeah, I appreciate your presence. Yeah, I mean this is the parcel app here. This is where an example yarn start. It's running the parcel app. But yeah, it seems like maybe it's not getting the. I wonder if this build down here will have impacted anything. No. Trying to remember how when I was originally working on this, I had a setup where I had both the parcel server running, but I also had something else running that was it was just like watching the build. Not totally sure. But sometimes the parcel server wasn't seeing errors that were showing up in the build, and so parcel would sort of look fine, but there would be something I'd have to resolve, and so I'm wondering if that's what's at play here. Yeah, I mean I can't Command Shift R, but I don't think that's. Yeah, I don't believe I have. I don't know. Is there a worker in this? That I didn't think there was a worker involved in example. No, I don't think so. see. Yeah, I'm just reading here in the main README to see if it's going to tell me anything about how to run this example directory, but everyone's in watch mode. It seems like it's supposed to just work as is. Bundle analysis, run analyze, no. Isn't this how it goes? I'm trying to like work on something else, and instead I'm over here debugging why the build won't turn over. So see if there's anything in the yarn build. I tried that. Maybe yarn lint. I don't think that's going to tell me anything interesting though. Got to run it in this directory. Just getting sparkles over here, so I guess not. Well, I mean, let's see. Can I make any other change? If it's given... Oh, that's right, I can't just access the Mac emoji keyboard in Kitty. I think that's my biggest gripe with Kitty. That's okay. Game of life, an exclamation point. Don't really expect that to show up here. Right. So why doesn't Parcel want to play along here? Great, you built in a second and a half, but you didn't build what I wanted you to build. Yeah, deleting the dist folder, that's a good idea. Doesn't feel like a super satisfying solution, but might as well. Let's yeah, just all that. Okay, so okay, so I removed all the files in the dist folder. Great, so I can't find it, so I think I just need to restart this, and it's going to build it fresh maybe. Nope. That's wild. This example folder not rebuilding. see, maybe there's something about parcel that's at 2018. I don't know. I don't think this is quite the right issue. This looks a little more interesting. Dev server not being updated. Yeah, I'm supposed to start in the example folder. It's yeah, let me show the project structure here real quick. That'll work. Trying to be fancy here using exa. Now I don't remember the. I thought it was depth. Is it? Oh, level. Okay. That was still a lot of things. Is that not? How do I exclude? Ignore. Ignore glob. Yeah, maybe ignore glob. Okay, that's close enough. So, yeah, this project has at the top level a source directory and test directory. So that's where I implemented sort of the types and logic for this game of life board. And then, yeah, a few tests for it as well. This is where the TS config lives, all of that. This is sort of like if you're creating a TypeScript package. And then it's the example directory is where there exists a parcel project, the index.html, the index.tsx, where you can then sort of test out and use the thing that you built in the source directory up here. So that's why I'm running the server from example. Since I'm not making any changes. Oh, am I? Oh, shoot. Yeah, I'm making changes to this index file. So I do need to rebuild this dist. Yeah, I was thinking I was only modifying stuff in the example directory. Okay. Oops. Yeah, really all of this should be living in the example directory. I'm not trying to like package up this particular. Okay, maybe that's something I can do now instead. Board controls. Yeah, this whole thing I think just needs to move. So let's move source index to, what else is in source? Yeah, just board. Source index, move that to example board.tsx, I guess. Okay, and then I'm going to go to this index, and we're going to import, I called it board. I think I meant to call it game. move example board to example game. Okay. And then we'll just grab this from game. Maybe. Yeah. So what doesn't this like? Can I resolve to... Oh, sure. I just need to fix this import here. Okay. And do we have a server running again? Yay, there we go. Server running. We've got our size control there. Yeah, what does my index HTML look like? Let's take a look at that. I think it's probably just providing the root for the React to hook into, and then there's the script tag for this TSX file, which, if we look at that, yeah, we can see that it's got this app component and it's rendering that to the root, which was in that index HTML. Cool. Thanks for bearing with me on that. Awesome. Let's see. Can I bump this up? No, it's not. Oh, it's not increasing it, but I think I know why. Because let's jump back to our board, our game. So that's our initial value. We can increase that, but that value doesn't end up affecting this thing. So I guess maybe we need, yeah, what would you want to happen if you increase the size? It probably just has to like rerun the board generator and create a new board of a different size. Yeah, so maybe let's have const board generator, and we'll say that this, just create an anonymous function here, so it's something I can like hand this, but it'll update itself. I'm just thinking I need to be able to like call this and have it not like close on these values. These values need to be able to be updated. Well, let's start there. All right, board length. Cool. And then, yeah, use board controls. We'll just give that board generator. And I think, yeah, we should still be working. But then if this increases, we need to like, yeah, we need to tell it to like redraw the board of a new size. Maybe use board controls needs to take like a, maybe like a width and a height. Width, height. And then here we give it the board length, and then use board controls. width, height, and then where does this get called? Yeah, no, this takes number. Okay, restart. So that'll also take width and height. So I guess we just need a state altering. Yeah. Yeah, I made this comment about sort of innovation in the React ecosystem and how hooks came out. Yeah, several years ago now. There's a guy who was making this point on Twitter recently, Adam Rackus, I think, or saying something like that, and I sort of get where you're coming from, and I get where Adam's coming from. I guess I'm sort of the mindset that like I'm still kind of getting stuff done and being productive in React, so I'm not too frustrated by it. I think I'm also not one for being on like the bleeding edge of a lot of the tech that's coming out, because I feel like there's spent a lot of time learning and then maybe the stuff sinks or swims. It's hard to say. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, I feel like I'm chasing this, chasing how to get these like values to swim down to where I need them to be. And yeah, honestly, maybe this is kind of what you're getting at with hooks, is like it is a little bit, this is where the sort of ergonomics of hooks can be a little bit tricky, because these are sort of like initializing values. No, but they should flow down, I think. Yeah, I feel that plateau of productivity. That's a good way to put it. Right. Yeah, I think the intent was for hooks to be sort of these like foundational pieces that especially use effect to be used by library authors. But yeah, most of the code bases I've been in, it's like everybody's using things like use effect, and maybe we're just not there yet in terms of the ecosystem. I mean, there's things like like React query, stuff like that sort of does use effect under the hood, but you don't deal with it directly, and handles a lot of really tricky details. I haven't had a chance to work with React query, but it seems awesome from what I've heard. Yeah. So I guess the thing I'm kind of wondering is, wow, console. If these width and height values are gonna flow down like I want them to. So yeah, 2020. Yeah, okay. So those are flowing in. So then just whenever those change, yeah, this is where we need a use effect. So if Yeah, if the width or the height ever change, then I want to, I guess, reinitialize the board. Is this doing set board? Yeah, some of what we're doing here. I'm gonna call that. Yeah, dot. There we go. Okay. There, that's pretty cool. And then I can run it. I should get rid of that console log now. Oh, we got a full screen of colors. That's great. Yeah, I would love to give React Query a try at some point. I feel like I just got to find a project where it's already being used. It's kind of hard to, I think, pull in a dependency like this when there's already sort of a precedent set for just making fetch calls and inside use effects everywhere, which has been sort of what I've ended up with in most of the code bases I've been in. So one day. Yeah, so something I wanted to take a look at with respect to this, like, Conway's Game of Life here. I don't know how familiar people are with this, but I found some super old school looking Cornell website that from their math department that talks a little bit about it. And yeah, so there's a couple rules. If a cell's alive, then it stays alive if it has either 2 or 3 live neighbors. So the cells that are like brighter, if we jump back over here, like these ones down here as opposed to the ones on their perimeter, they're brighter, that means they're alive. These like dimmer ones are the dead ones. So you get, like, this cell, for instance, has 1, 2, 3 alive neighbors, so it stays alive. And in fact, they all have 3 alive neighbors, so they all stay alive. So that's sort of this fixed state one that we have here, and actually come to a fixed state for all of these on here, which they talk about down these example patterns. But I guess so the other rule then is if a cell is dead, then it will spring to life only in the case that it has 3 live neighbors. So we can see that, yeah, like this one here has 1, 2 live neighbors. If it only had 1 more live neighbor, then it would sort of in the next tick of the game come alive as well. Yeah, you can see this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 live neighbors. Might look like it has 3 because there's just these 3 around it, but the neighbors are also on the diagonals here. So this guy has 5. So that's why it stays dead, because it's like overcrowded. Yeah, it's a cellular automata. That's what this is called in mathy terms. But I think what's interesting are some of these patterns that emerge. So here's these 3 will then turn into these 2, which will then just kind of disappear into nothing. And that's how the board ends up kind of starting really full and then sort of fading to only just a few of these stable things. Yeah, this one's cool. It has a name, but I can't think what it is, but it just it's like vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, and it just keeps going. So it's like tick, 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 tick. And yeah, it's called like I don't know, like a blinker or something. This one just is what we looked at just back here right now, and it just gets into this stable state and stays that way unless anything is to like sort of collide with it. Yeah, here's a couple other fun ones. Stable, stable. Yeah, we have one of those over there. There's some other still life ones that'll be stable. Then there's this thing called a glider, which will kind of tick its way like across the screen. Maybe we could create one of those. We could make it so that the squares, when you click on them, they switch state. That would be kind of a fun thing to do next. So maybe I should get a commit in here. Get rid of that console log. Let's see. Yeah, we moved all of that. Add control for the size of the board. Cool. So now I'm wondering how easy it would be to make these clickable. Oh, did I already start trying to do that? Did I already start trying to do that? Toggle cell state. Yeah, that's a function. And it takes the thing and it finds the position on the board and tries to set it. And was that not working? Huh. Maybe I've got those numbers flipped. This should be 18 and 0, not 0 and 18. Oh, but I put J and I. That's confusing. So take the previous board and I update it. So what am I doing? I find the position of Y and then X in the previous board. I see if it's alive. And if it is, then I make it dead. Otherwise it must be dead, so I make it alive. And then I return that previous board as part of the set board function. So wonder why that's not working. Yeah, it's X and Y that are coming in, so it's like the X position on the grid and then the Y position. So the X should be like along here and the Y should be like along this axis. So let's see. Do I have those mixed up? Is I gonna be... Yeah, I think I is going to end up being which row, so it's going to be along the vertical axis, so that is going to be the Y. Oh, so I think I do have those mixed up then. Although I and J, it's weird how just two variables like this can have you so turned around. What I have? I had J and then I. What if I say I and J? Is that going to make a difference? Yeah, that's the 0, 0. Okay, so I think I have the numbers. Oh, it might not be re-rendering. Like, do you think React isn't re-rendering, or do you think that is that an issue with this set board here? I wonder. So what do I need to make it immutable? Right. Well, maybe instead of pulling in another library, maybe I can just sort of create a new array and spread this out. Which seems really annoying, but yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to have to do that, but yeah, I've never used Immer. I've been meaning to look at it. Let's look at it right now. Yeah. I don't know if Immer is the path for me right now, but maybe what I can do is export.map. We get the row. Row.map, and we get the cell. Let's get the I, J. So this JavaScript will give us the second, a second argument there, which will be the position in the thing that it's iterating over. So then we can say if j equals y and if j equals y, no, I think that's if I equals y, if j equals x, then we can update that value. Otherwise, we can just return cell. Does that like previous board? Oh, whoops. To call. Wait. Why is it not like that? Oh, because I have to turn this here too. Yeah, there we go. That's what I meant by, we just got to read an error message. When it says argument of type previous board returning an array of voids, that should have tipped me off to the fact that the outer part was fine and the inner part was creating an array of voids, which is why I needed the return, which clears up that message. Let's see if that made any difference. There we go. Okay, so let's start this. Actually make it a little bit bigger. And we'll let it run itself out a little bit. And then we'll see if we can create a glider. That'll be fun to look at if we can create one. So, what is it? 3 across the top and then 2 down like that. Okay. I'll let it clear out a little bit further. Okay, so I'm going to pause it, and we'll say we've got, oh no, I did get them backwards, look at that. Shoot. Oh yeah, why did I change these? I knew they were right before, and it was just that I wasn't updating it. Yeah, J then I, because, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's working now. Okay. Yeah, yay to TypeScript. That's, yeah, it's nice when you can catch those things in the editor rather than catching them, you know, much later when you're clicking around in the browser. Yeah, little things like that that can tighten the feedback loop just make a huge difference. So I've been really glad to be learning TypeScript and using it more. Okay, is this thing running down a little bit? Some really fun patterns that emerge. Look at that thing right there. That's kind of cool. Okay, so let's pause this and let's create a... So this is our glider shape. That's the same thing we saw right here. And I think what we're going to see is it's going to kind of like move like up and across the board like that, I think. So let's click start and see how it moves on each tick. Yeah, so it has like 3 different phases, I think, and then it ends up back in the original phase, but sort of moved a couple squares up. And it's just going to keep doing this till it gets to the end of the board, which is, I think, pretty fun. Cool. All right, well, those are some fun additions to the this little Game of Life program that I've been working on. So let's go ahead and commit that. Oh, I can clear these new lines out. Or not new lines, these commented lines. That all looks good. Create new array instance for React reconciler. Cool. So, yeah, I think maybe that's all I wanted to do for the for this little TypeScript React Game of Life thing. Yeah, one thing I've been meaning to do is, so I use Canva for all of my design cards for when I create YouTube videos. I used it for this, like, the little stream starter thing for when I'm starting soon on this channel. And then I also use it for create this, like, today I learned image. Which Canva's really slick. Like all these different elements, you know, you can sort of do what you want with them. There's like all kinds of things you can add in here. There's elements here. Add this person in. Add these dots in just to add a little more flair. Oh, I thought they were going to be those big white dots. Oh, anyway, this is like fun stuff like that you can do in Canva. And it just makes it real easy to then export these things. Then you can use them for like little Twitter cards and whatnot, or YouTube thumbnails. So now, the reason I'm doing this is I have been tracking my TILs, and I had to hit 75 and counting a while back of 100, and yeah, I recently hit 100 TILs, so I wanted to post that and kind of show my I'm never gonna find this, let's see, and just show my process for using Canva for that. There we go. So it's this one. So if I grab that and I go here, just gonna grab all of this, quote tweet this thing. I'll just say something like, I reached 100 kills, 100 days. Maybe add a celebration face like that. Oh, sparkles. Those didn't copy well. Oh, and then the final touch is adding in that Canva image then. Cool. So I'll post that. Yeah, this was kind of a fun project. I mean, I've been tracking my TILs for 5 or 6 years, but to try and write one every day for 100 days was a fun little challenge, and it had me sort of writing a bunch more than I generally do, and end up pushing myself, you know, on getting a lot more of these out there. So yeah, this repo has been fun to maintain, but now to get to sort of the second part of this stream, what I've been working on recently is getting this stuff off of GitHub and onto sort of my own domain, so I can have a little more control over how it displays. I can have a little more control around things like linking between TILs and I don't know, I guess surfacing them, figuring out what the social card images look like, all of that. So yeah, I've been working on a Rails server to sort of ingest all of this markdown content, put it in a database so I can sort of manage it there. And then the Rails server is going to serve that through an API. And then I have a Next.js app which reads from that API and then uses Mdx Bundler to render that those markdown files onto a page, and using things like Tailwind and Tailwind typography to give it a little bit of style. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, so this is the Rails side of things. So I guess I can maybe get that going. Rails. What port is that going to run on? 1234. So that's gonna, I think, clash with this other server that I have running. I have to kill that one. So cool, 1234, I've got that running, and if I open it up, oops. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4. No database error. That's fine, I'm probably on the wrong. Let's see. So I use ASDF to manage my versions of tools that I use, including Postgres. And so I think right now, say ASDF list Postgres. Or I guess I'm going to tell me current Postgres maybe. It'll tell me what version. Oh, so I'm using 11.11, but I think this project must be Postgres 13.2. So I have a shell function called switch PG. And I give it 13.2 like that, and 13.1. And it brings down the other server, brings up this one. And so now, if I run Rails S, I think that's running. Give this a refresh. It still doesn't like it. That's interesting. What why didn't it switch? Oh, is this? Oh, this app is running on 11.11. So what was the problem then? Switch PG. Okay. PSQL. Visual mode development. Let's see. I wonder if I wiped out that database when I was trying to do a reinstall of Postgres 11.11. That might be what happened. So in that case, I need to say Rails db create. Yep, there it goes. Okay. And then I need to see Rails db migrate so that I can add the tables that are needed. Great. And then I wrote a rake task to import the data. So let's look at that. Lib tasks import. So this thing's massive. It's like 167 lines. Does a ton of stuff. I guess just for a quick overview, what is it doing? It's going to clone this TIL repo from GitHub, and then it's going to like comb through there, look for all the markdown files, and import those into the import schema that this app supports. So I can run Rails import TIL, I think is what that'll be. Yep, and it's running. So there's a temp directory, and it cleans it out. It then creates that temp directory and then clones into it. And I think right now it's just doing the import process, which probably is going to take a minute because there's, as you may have saw a little bit ago, there's like a 1100 markdown files that it needs to import. So it goes through all those directories, and in each of those directories it looks for the markdown file, and it grabs the relative path, grabs like a content identifier, a title. Yeah, so it looks like it did the whole thing. Yeah, a little reporting output here just to let me know how the import went. I wrote it in a way where it's supposed to be idempotent, so you should be able to like run it again, and it won't like double import things. So yeah, it's kind of a nice little rig test to have. It really quickly booted all that data up. And now if I run, whoops, not Rails C, if I run Rails server, I should have a database full of data that I can work with here. Yeah, for the imports. Yeah, we've got this whole thing, and you can see this huge scroll bar. There's a ton of stuff in here. So let's see. So I've got that running, and now I want to open up another tmux tab here so I can get the client running as well. So I believe that's just going to be, let's see, package. Yeah, it's going to run port 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to run yarn start. Yarn dev, that's what I meant. Okay, cool. So now that's running, or it's in the process of running. Okay, yeah, so I have pulled in Tailwind on this project, and so I wiped out all of the like kind of Vercells, boilerplate, Next.js styling on their main page, and so, but the server's running. So now the thing I can do here is all of these are imports, and none of them are converted to posts at this point. And so I won't be able to view a post on the Vercel side of, or on the Next.js side of things until I convert an import into a post. So I'm gonna find one that has a code block. Let's see. Yeah, why not this one? It's AWS Amplify one. Let's try that. So I've convert to post, and now it's posted. And so I go to this public link. Let's open that up in a new tab. Right. Yeah, it just renders like that. So it took sort of this blob of markdown right here, and it turned it into this, which I'm pretty happy with. The like title and these tags here are rendered separately, but this, everything below that is just the blob of markdown that then gets rendered onto the page. Yeah, so it renders the links in, really cool. It does a good job of rendering the syntax this code block in a like pre-encode tags, and applying syntax highlighting using I believe like Remark and Prisma, or Prism. Prism is the Prism.js. Yeah, not Prisma, that's something else. So that's that. But yeah, so the way that I pulled this off was using something called Mdx Bundler. So let's take a look at that. Let's start. So pages, got this slug directory. Okay, so the tags here, and then this component, this is the markdown block, and the reason it's a component is because it's coming from this get mdx component, and that is the client-side part of Mdx Bundler. There's also a server-side part to it, which is this bundle MDX. So that runs in the get server-side props part of this Next.js page. And what that does in my case is I I make a request to Rails for the data for this particular post. So it's looking at this slug and the slug title, and it's looking up that particular post. It gets the response, and if there's a response there, it's able to pull the data out of it, and in the data there's a content. Actually, we can, we'll really take a look at that in there because it's all happening in sort of like the server. But it takes that content, which is just in my case, is just raw markdown, and it's going to run it through this XDM options. So the bundle MDX will take the content, and then the XDM options is where you can define any sort of plugins. I think it's also where you can specify if there are components that need to be used. So MDX supports like rendering React components alongside Markdown to create sort of a end result of HTML. In my case, I'm not using any components, so it's just the raw Markdown that gets turned into HTML, and then it gets run through this XDM tool, which, what all does it apply? I think it uses some default Remark plugins that are built into Bundle MDX, and then it also applies this Remark Prism plugin, which adds the syntax highlighting to the code block. And so that is something that I import up here. And I guess also as part of that, I have, let's see, source components, layout. So this is where the styles for this Prism's syntax highlighting come from, is this link here, which is just pulling it from the unpackage CDN. Shout out to Michael Jackson for that. And so that's kind of how all that works. Let's take a look at Mdx Bundler. That's just a really cool project. Kent C. Dodds has done it again. Another fantastic open source repo. So I had originally started looking at using Next MDX Remote, and this just ended up being way easier to use. So here's kind of a usage example that's maybe a little more representative than what mine showed. So you specify some MDX source, which is just some content, and even supports having some front matter in it that'll include things like title, public, really any key value data that you want to put in here, and it'll make that available as the front matter param from the result. But again, in my case, I'm just grabbing the code out of it. But then you can also feed it a series of files, which are the components that you might be using in your Markdown, or in your MDX rather. So this is some demo component that just renders neat demo in a div, but you can do a lot more with it. You can kind of have the whole power of React at your fingertips in terms of what you want to render in MDX here. So this is like the server side part of it, and so you send this stuff to the client, and then the client knows to, and then you tell the client to call this get MDX component, and it'll take the code and turn it into a React component that you can then render into your page. And then the front matter that it extracts out of the result is presumably data that you want to incorporate somewhere into your page, and so that's something that you can then do like they're doing in this header here. Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's just you're just getting some HTML. So that's kind of how that's working. Yeah, I'm really pretty happy with how this looks. I just gotta it's like header stuff, product features, marketplace company. This is just stuff I pulled from Tailwind UI, which is an excellent sort of companion to Tailwind in terms of kind of really quickly bootstrapping some nice looking UI. But yeah, all that is to say, there's still a lot of work to do here to get this thing ready to launch, but I'm really happy with how the TIL posts are rendering, and I can't wait to get these live, because I think this looks a heck of a lot better than this, you know? This is fine, does the job, it's done the job for a long time, but I just like that I can have more control over it and, bump up the font size a little bit, if nothing else. Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't think there's a whole lot more to say about that. I thought I might work on this a little bit, but I think there's some other sort of questions I have to figure out first before I take next steps on it. So we'll just save that for another time. Yeah, this is, I think, probably the end of the stream for now. Should probably go find some dinner at this point. Thanks for watching, especially Oh No's. I really appreciate you joining in for most of this, all of this maybe. It was really great to have sort of that back and forth as I was digging through some of the TypeScript and parcel challenges. Yeah, that I guess is going to be it for this stream. So I will catch you all on the next stream.